Hello and welcome to the 15-minute SCADA system. Now that you've seen SCADA Enterprise Platform Application in action, I'll show you how to build the SCADA system in 15 minutes or less. Because the SCADA Enterprise Platform Application is based on Wonderware's Orchestra platform, we'll begin here in the Orchestra development environment. We'll start by opening the SCADAKit Surface Area Configurator, which is the portal for setting up our entire SCADA system schema. You'll see here it is a fully licensed product, and we begin with our metadata connector information. Here we're using Windows Integrated Security, and we'll now select our database server name. We can test our connection, and then create our metadata connector. At this point, we can configure our metadata. Keeping in mind our metadata repository houses the business intelligence for our SCADA system. We'll go ahead and pick a repository prefix for my company, Gasco. We are of oil and gas monitoring type, so now we can create our metadata. At this point, we'll select our metadata and see a listing of the data names and data types. We can also change our repository by adding items or deleting items from our metadata. For our demo purposes, we'll just use the default listing. Now we can move on to reports. We have directions here at the top to ease in navigation. We begin by entering a report name. We'll create the report and then select the report. At this time, we're on to step 3, and we can add, delete, and move the columns to the list. Tag name and location name are required fields. So we'll begin with tag name, location name. I'd like to see status, differential pressure, static pressure, temperature, flow rate, energy rate, voltage, last update, and volume accumulated yesterday. However, I'd like to see a different display name in my report than the column name given here, so we'll go ahead and shorten volume accumulated yesterday to YESTVOL. And now I can add it to my list. I'll review my location and column names and display names. I think I want to move my volume accumulated yesterday up a position. And now we can create our report routine. Now we'll move on to our metadata script. We'll create our base unit metadata script here that will be included in our unit instances. And this is the script that's going to move our real-time value information into our metadata repository. We'll now move on to the Auto Config Script tab, and here you're going to see the power of the SCADA Enterprise platform. I'll begin by navigating to the item list directory. And here you'll see a sampling of the XML files we have available, with each XML representing a data mapping for each of the field devices. And there are many man-years of research and testing for each of the listed field devices. For our demo, we'll select the SCADAKit Sim Rock. Because we are oil and gas, we're going to configure these as user-defined attributes. We'll go ahead and list the items here that you can see are included in our data mapping file, and we'll create our base AutoConfig script. At this point, each of the user-defined attributes are going to be tied into their data mappings, setting their input sources using the XML document selected. At this point, we can create our instances and connectors. We'll refresh our machine name list and select our corresponding machine name. We'll refresh our galaxy list and select our galaxy. And at this point, we can refresh our connector list. This center pane here is going to populate with all of these SCADAKit templates and any derived templates from our SCADAKit templates. We'll go ahead and create our unit connector template specific for my company, Gasco. It is a SCADAKit Rock type, and we'll go ahead and update the metadata script and AutoConfig script for this template which are the same scripts we had just configured on the Configure Metadata tab. We'll go ahead and create our connector template. And at this point, we can go ahead and select our unit connector template. There it is for our company, Gasco, and we can go ahead and get our connector settings and fill in these parameters for our instance. We'll enter in the tag name here, keeping in mind that spaces are not allowed. We'll go ahead and enter in our Active Directory group because we do tie into Active Directory. Our human readable location name where spaces are allowed. Our station ID, tube number or run number, the type, our SQL Server name, username, and password, latitude, longitude, route number, and route rank. These are completely configurable parameters for your unit instance template. So we'll go ahead and create our unit instance. And now if we go into deployment view, we should be able to see that instance created here. Now let's say you have hundreds, if not thousands, of these rock instances to create. You don't have to go in and enter each one by one in here. We do have a bulk import utility available on our Import Units tab. I'll go ahead and show as an example a CSV file that's already been created that imports multiple devices. And now in this CSV file, you can specify which areas you would like your instances to belong to if you have those area designations already available in your views. Now, with our instances imported, we can view them here under their corresponding areas. At this point, we can now create our graphics connector template for my company, Gasco. Our graphics connector template is going to give us access and the means for viewing the data from our unit connector instances. So we'll go ahead and select the graphics oil and gas, which will not require a metadata or auto config script, and we'll create our connector template. With our connector template created for our graphics, we'll go ahead and select it here and get our connector settings. Now we'll go ahead and fill in our parameters once again. Set the server name for our trend database with SQL username and password. At this point, we'll go ahead and copy this SQL statement, which you'll see in a second will be used for our default report. Here's our tree and map SQL statements, and then the URL string where our reports can be located at. At this point, we can go ahead and create our unit instance. And if you'll look in our deployment view, the Gasco graphics instance has been created. At this point, we just need to move this object into its corresponding area, as well as our original unit instance. And now it's just a matter of deployment and seeing our SCADA application. While that's deploying, we'll go ahead and create our initial report. In Visual Studio, we'll go ahead and create our new report. We'll need to create a new data source. Select our server name here. Select the database name, which will be SCADA admin. Test our connection. And at this point we can now paste that same SQL statement as automatically created by our surface area configurator. Go ahead and give our report a name. And we're finished. And you can see your report layout here. I'll go ahead and preview that information. Let's just verify that all of our objects have been successfully deployed. And we can preview our data here. Now at this point, let's go ahead and view the application we just built. You'll see that we have the single in-touch screen on which our embedded orchestral graphic resides on. We'll go into Runtime. Go ahead and enter our application. And now what you see here is our SCADA Enterprise Platform application built for you. This concludes our 15-minute SCADA system. And if you would like to view more information on SCADA Enterprise Platform, please contact Bont Software or your nearest Wonderware distributor.